Welcome to our fourth in a series of four, our last political forum this season. My name is Giselle McKinney Hawkins. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and we are the Lake Charles Alumni chapter. We send you greetings and thank you for coming out for this auspicious event and to welcome our candidates. I want to introduce our chapter president, Zelda Fry, for our event.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zelda Fry, and I serve as the president of the Lake Charles Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'm here today to welcome all of you to our last forum that will be hosted by Delta Sigma Theta Sorority prior to election on October 14th. Our forum today will feature candidates running seeking the positions of police jurors for various districts and also state representatives. I'd like to thank the candidates and welcome you. Thank you for participating. Welcome again. First off, Delta Sigma Theta does not endorse any candidates. This forum is for informational purposes only. Again, thank you all for coming. Welcome. Enjoy the forum, and I'll now turn it over to my social action chair, Giselle Hawkins.
So we're going to welcome up our chapter chaplain, Vala, to be able to give a prayer before we get started.
Let us go to the Lord in prayer. Dear God, we come on this evening thanking you for our many blessings. Lord, we thank you for these candidates. We thank you that they were able to come out to share with us. At this time, we just ask that you will open our minds, our hearts, and give us a clear vision of each platform, of each candidate. And Lord, we know that knowledge is power. And we have come to learn to just discern which candidates that we should vote for when we go into that election. And Lord, we know that many are qualified. And we just ask that you come into this place and have your way with each and every one of us. Help us to just go through the forum with kindness, to go through just wanting and yearning to learn more. We're so grateful to the Mount Calvary family here at Reverend Garner that has extended us a welcome, a place that we can come to hear our candidates. And we know that they are tired because they have been through so many forums. So we just ask that you will lift them up at this time and give them the ability to address whichever question that comes their way. This is our prayer. Amen. Amen.
So I want to introduce at this point in time our mistress of ceremony is Ms. Nakia Collins. She will give instructions. Our timekeepers are Amanda Johnson and Dora Kinnison Clark. I want to say that this again is our fourth in a series of four forums, and it's Lake Charles Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. I want to tell you a little bit about us. We are an organization of educated women, over 300,000 strong, and we at Lake Charles Alumni chapter have been in existence since 1955. Today we bring you the candidates for police jury, these districts representing District 3, District 4, District 8, and District 9. We thank you and we welcome you. Note that early voting begins September 30th through October 7th. And we ask that you please exercise your votes or choice to vote early. And also, our election day is October 14th. Thank you. Oh, and I think District 2 will be later.
Good evening. Good evening.
technology and the challenges that we seem to face with new inventions, if you will. My name is Nikia Collins Bushnell. I'll be your moderator for the evening. We'll go through District 2, District 3, District 8, and District 9 in our first set of questions. Each individual will have a chance to give a 2-minute introduction. You'll hold to that 2 minutes. We have timekeepers, one here on this row, if you would raise your hand, Mrs. Kennison. We have a second timekeeper, Mrs. Amanda Johnson, if you would raise your hand. We'll acknowledge the cards with all due respect and the time limits that are given. After your 2-minute introduction, we'll start into our line of questioning. You'll have a 1-minute response with a 30-second rebuttal. After all of the questions have been completed, we will allow you to do a 2-minute close, and we will still use the timekeepers with that as well. Is everyone in agreement, and does everyone understand? Perfect. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a 501c7 nonpartisan organization and does not endorse candidates. The forum is for educational purposes only. Although you all are representing different districts tonight, we're going to ask questions straight across the panel. We're going to start here on the end of the table with District 2 with Mr. Mike Smith. If you would also give your election or ballot number, that would be helpful for the general public to know that you are Mike Smith and what your number is.
Good evening. Good evening. Everybody.
Try to push it up.
Up, it is up.
On a different one.
Yeah, good. Yeah, the green light goes on.
Test.
I'm good.
It's muted. It's muted.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Smith, the current police juror for District 2. I'm number 64 on the ballot. I have my lovely wife Trisha here of 34 years, and my youngest son Xavier. We all three are members of Mount Calvary Baptist Church, and we're glad to be here. And I want to thank the Deltas for actually putting this on because we actually need it for the community. During my first term, like I said, I was elected as my first term, and we went through a lot. And I want to continue my terms because I have a lot left to do. We went through a lot with the actual hurricanes, the ice storm, and all other items. But one thing I want to do is continue to grow District 2, to make sure that we do get the respect and the actual allocation that's out there. There is a lot of money that's coming to the community and coming to the parish, and the money is here. We went through times we didn't have any money coming to this, but now we have money here. Like on tomorrow, there's going to be an actual public meeting to address the $27 million that's here to use in the actual district. Not just my district, but actually minority districts throughout the parish. So I want to encourage everybody to come out tomorrow and make sure that we're going to be at the Alumni Center starting at 6. One thing I want to do, I want to make sure that I continue my work to show up and to make sure I do put out fires, because dealing with people, that's what I do. I'm a public servant. I want to be a people person. I want to make sure that things get accomplished in my district. I do like to always make sure things are transparent so people can know about things. I'm an open book. You call me anytime, I can tell you what's going on. You can follow me on social media, follow me in the paper, KPLC, whatever you want to follow me on, you can. Because I want to make sure that my constituents know exactly what's going on in the whole parish so they can find the resources and make sure they can live an actual good life in District 2. Because I want to make sure District 2 does thrive. Thank y'all. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll now move to Mr. Emile Levon Fontenot.
Test. Good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Emile Levon Fontenot, and I am number 63 on the ballot. First off, as a member of Kappa Alpha Psi and the Divine Nine, I would definitely like to extend a lot of appreciation to Delta Sigma Theta and actually putting this on. This means a lot. And for the term that you guys have been doing it, the persistence means everything. So we definitely appreciate that. Police Drill District 2. Let's just say the world in general has a lot to grow. We have a long way to go. And even talking about District 2, you look around and you just see so many areas where we can do better. But let me give you just a little bit of background on myself. Born originally in Lafayette, Louisiana, grew up for about 10 years in Opelousas. When I was 10 or 11, I moved to California to meet my mom, stayed there for 5 years, and then came to Lake Charles, Louisiana. Met my dad and just fell in love with what it is. It's like a mixture of country and city all in one. And a country boy like me, I like that combination. And so met my wife, who was a longtime resident, who lived actually right across the street from Washington Marion, the school I graduated from, and we ended up buying a house right around the corner. So I know I'm not going anywhere, and I know I see a lot of changes that need to be done. And for the sake of my 12, 9, 3, and 1-year-old babies, I want to make sure that we cultivate this atmosphere that we call the world as much as possible. Because what we don't do, the world is ready to show them. So if we don't show them the right ways or give them the tools and the atmosphere they need to succeed, it won't happen. So that's where my heart is, that's where my passion and my pride is. And all I'm asking for you is that early voting from September 30th through October 7th and on October 14th. I need your vote, number 63, Emile Levon Fontenot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fontenot. We'll now move to Mrs. Chantel Carter Willis.
Good evening, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here. Of course, I'm very happy that Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated and Mount Calvary has put this on. I'm Chantel Carter Willis. I am number 62 on the ballot. I am a nurse, been a nurse for over 20 years. I've also been a director of nursing for over 10 now. And I have a passion for caring for people. It's always something that I love to do. It's always something that I've been drawn to, caring for people. It's what I've been doing in this community for the past 20 years. That's what I did when we had hurricanes hit. I didn't leave, I was here, making sure people were taken care of. That's what I want to take to our community. So as a director of nursing, we've had to do a lot of things with healthcare, making sure that we had the diversity in nursing, that we had the people to take care of our community, and be a part of a lot of different transitions. That's what I can take into this position as a leader, a servant leader. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to be for you. I want to be a voice. I want to make sure that our voice is heard in this community and that we continue to move forward. That's my goal. Chantel Carter Willis, number 62 on the ballot.
Thank you to the District 2 candidates. We'll now move to District 4 with Mr. Mac Delafosse.
Thank you. Thank you, Delta Sigma Theta, for giving us a platform. Too much is given, much is required. And that's something I live by. I come before you today as a humble servant, asking that you elect me, Mac Delafosse, District 4. So, Connecticut Parish Police Jury, they collect over $18 million in property taxes from the residents of the city of Lake Charles. That's 3 taxes that they collect. And District 4 neighborhoods are not seeing any of those return on those investments. District 4 neighborhoods have been neglected and ignored. This is a travesty that we can't let continue to happen. So the change must happen now. I have a proven record of securing millions of dollars while being on the school board for District 7. I have a proven record of using my voice to lead efforts that generate positive change. That is what I'm willing to bring to District 4 to see it. District 4, we're at a crossroads. The decisions that this election brings will impact future generations in ways like none before. I'm asking that you look at your neighborhoods, District 4. Ask yourself, has my neighborhood gotten any better? If you ask me, I'll tell you it hasn't. A resounding no. I would ask you also listen tonight to fact check the things that you're going to hear tonight. You need to know for yourself what's going on and what the issues are. Therefore, I'm asking you to choose results, choose experience, choose growth, choose action, choose leadership. Choose me, Mac Delafosse, number 67 on your ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Delafosse. We'll actually go to District 8 with Mr. Scott Washington.
Am I on? Yes, sir. Hi, how are you this evening? My name is Scott Washington. I'm running for the police jury seat that Guy Breen has held for 20 years. He's stepping down. Basically, that's the west side of town. I've been in business here in Lake Charles for 45 years. And I look around and so many people they're so cynical about government. And I'm guilty of that too. And part of the reason that I'm running is win or lose, when I do meet my maker, I'm be able to look him in the eye and say, I tried. Now, a little bit about me. I have been an environmental contractor for 38 years. Our company was Hydrovac. You may have heard of us, you may not have, but we cleaned up the mess. Any kind of mess that was made, that was our job, to go clean it up. I'm running because at this point in my life I have the time to do a good job. I also have a unique background relative to everyone else on the police jury in that I am a regulatory expert. I know what the environmental rules and regulations are. And the parish has got adjudicated property in a number of places around the parish that's been sitting for years and years and years. In the course of our work, we did quite a bit of Brownsfield work. And those are projects that are available to the parish that would help bring some of these blighted properties back into use. I think my time is out, so I'm going to stop.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. We are also going to grab some water for each candidate, as well as for myself and the tech team that's working. We are going to go ahead and go to District 9 with Felicia Frank.
Let's see. I can do this. There, hello, testing.
Testing. Seems like every time I get a mic, it's messing up. So I wouldn't expect anything, but I want to thank the Deltas for putting this on and welcoming the candidates here today. Also Mount Calvary, the house that we're standing in, and the presence that was welcomed in. So my name is Felicia Frank. I'm born and raised in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Most of you know my father, Ken Shake Snyder, is a servant to the community for many years, and my great uncle, Rufus Mayfield, who was a pioneer as well in the business sector in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Well, I'm from that legacy, the legacy of serving the people. One of the things I want to say is that I believe this to be one of the most important terms that we can elect in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Calcasieu Parish. The reason is because of the billion of resources and dollars that is going to be flooded into our community. And if we do not have the right people sitting in those seats, then we may lose out on the opportunity to build strong and repair our infrastructure. Our schools, our roads, our infrastructure, our drainage, our sewage, we can go on with the list of things. Our schools are all suffering. And if you're like me, you're tired of being last on every statistic that we read in the newspapers. Well, we have to make that decision. We have to send our best to represent us in those seats. I'm asking you, I'm number 74, Felicia Frank, and I'm asking you to vote for me. it's a clear choice that we have to make right now.
Thank you, Ms. Frank. We'll now move to Mr. Anthony Barty.
Hi. Good evening. My name's Anthony Barty. I'm originally from Cameron, Louisiana. And I want to thank the Deltas for putting this on. And just like Mr. Fontenot said, he's a member of the Divine Nine, so am I. I just happen to be a member of the first Black Greek letter organization, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But anyway, again, my name's Anthony Barty. I'm originally from Cameron, Louisiana. I graduated from McNeese State University. When I graduated from McNeese, I went to work for Calcasieu Marine National Bank. I was definitely the first Black branch manager in this area. Stayed there for approximately 20 years, and that's where I got my desire to be a servant. Banking back then was all about service, and so I was able to that was instilled in me. I went to work after that for Ms. Faye Brown Blackwell to run her radio station, and that's been a very rewarding opportunity for me to continue to working with the people of Lake Charles, serving them. And then I retired and decided to seek public office, which has been a different task, but it's been a very rewarding one to go about helping people and help them make their lives better. And that's what I believe in as far as being a public servant, being a representative of representing District 9, which is one of the fastest growing districts in Calcasieu Parish. And you know, I've always been the type of person, I'd say I had two functions, to take credit and assess blame. So then I'm going to take credit for the growth of District 9.
Thank you, Mr. Barty, and to each of the candidates who have given great statements about themselves and their personal goals and what their expectations are for outcomes. As mentioned a bit earlier, prior to getting into the questioning, we'll go over the rules one more time. You will have an opportunity after your question is asked to respond for 60 seconds. If you have a rebuttal to any candidate, there's a 30-second limit. The timekeepers will hold up their time card. At the end of our line of questioning, you'll have an opportunity to give a 2-minute closing statement. Is everyone clear? Perfect. We'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start with District 2. Each candidate will have the same question and a different set of questions throughout each district. So we'll start with District 2. We'll start with Mr. Emile Laban Fontenot. Calcasieu Parish is prone to hurricanes and other natural disasters. How do you plan to improve the parish's infrastructure and disaster preparedness efforts to ensure the security of residents during emergencies?
Test. Are we standing up on all these answers, or are we sitting down?
It depends on what you feel is your position.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Absolutely, and if at any point anyone needs me to repeat a question, I will. Calcasieu Parish is prone to hurricanes and other natural disasters. How do you plan to improve the parish's infrastructure and disaster preparedness efforts to ensure the the safety of residents during emergencies?
Oh, let's see. Let me just start with the baseline. It's a lot of knowledge that goes into the preparation for emergencies like this. And if we don't do the preparation prior to an emergency happening, then we'll be in a bind and trying to play catch up if it does happen. And simple things like the litter and keeping these ditches cut and properly draining so that we don't have to build up if we do get an abundance of rain or abundance of storm. But it's also about creating relationships too, because we need to become more of one, just like we've done in the past when Laura hit us in 2020. We stuck together. We were able to come no matter what the color was, no matter what the gap was, we came together and we were able to help each other move forward. And I think we need to dive a little bit more into that and also gain more of the knowledge of how the infrastructure plays such an important role when we're talking about watershed and drainage and how we get that water to the Gulf. So knowledge is definitely key, relationships is definitely key, and coming together as one is always going to be the answer to most questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fontenot. And we do have a lot of questions, so if you choose not to stand for each one, I believe that's absolutely okay. We will go to Mrs. Chantel Carter-Willis for the same question, and I can repeat it.
Let's see. Testing, okay. So I think it's imperative actually that we work together to prepare for any national disaster. Actually, this is one of the things that I've been able to really work in healthcare. Working with Louisiana Emergency Preparedness Response Network team, when we had Laura, I was one of the lead nursing directors to make sure we knew how to prepare and get ready for it. Now, we realized in that we weren't quite prepared because we had to evacuate patients. So you learn from that. For Delta, we were ready. We were ready to make sure we had water, that we didn't have to evacuate patients at the last minute. I was actually one of the ones that was here until that last patient left, because that's what I do. I make sure that our patients and our community are taken care of, and I get in there and roll up my sleeves if I have to. So preparing and working with Learn is something I've had experience in, and I think I can work with the community to make sure we have our community prepared to evacuate if needed.
There is a little bit of a delay when you hit the on button on the mic. Even I'm having a difficult time with it, so just pause for a moment before you speak. We'll go to Mr. Mike Smith.
Okay. One thing we want to do is actually build back better. You know, basically the actual codes are now strengthened to withstand 140-mile-an-hour winds. So you want to build hurricane-resistant homes because you never know when those hurricanes will come. Also with the parish, we do have contracts with Crowder Golf and also other amenities, so we can have things prepared. They'll come back first day after the hurricane to start the cleanup. So those contracts are already in place to be prepared for this. Also, you want to make sure you have shelters already laid out. The Burton Coliseum is always there. The Civic Center is always there. But one thing what Laura taught me and taught everybody else, and like in my district, District 2, people coming from the north, there's no shelter. So people coming out of Gillis, Moss Bluff, and other areas does not have anywhere to go. So that's something we want to work on now, based by making an actual shelter. Like last time, we used the actual Southwest Louisiana Health Center over there on Appaloosa Street. So one thing I want to work on is trying to get an actual building built, a multi-purpose building that can actually handle things during the day and then also be a shelter during a hurricane.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll now move to District 4 with Mr. Mac Delafosse. What strategies do you propose to promote economic development and job creation in Calcasieu Parish, particularly in the wake of recent challenges such as hurricanes and economic downturns?
Okay, thank you. Well, I was ready for that other question because that's my expertise as a disaster claims adjuster. But in terms of economic development, the parish spends 2.7% of its budget in economic development currently. And frankly, that's not enough for what we need in terms of the partnerships that need to take place with the city of Lake Charles and other particular entities around the parish. Because we're a parish government, we still have a lot of things that we do in the city. And those partnerships that we talk about for economic development would be partnering with different businesses, different entities to allow them to have different classes for businesses that want to come to Lake Charles. We need to make sure that we are doing things to attract other businesses to come to Lake Charles. That means we need to get out of make sure we have someone on staff that's experienced in economic development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delafosse. We'll go to District 8, Mr. Scott Washington, with the same question.
We live in the heart of the oil and gas country. We have an incredible industrial infrastructure here that's already here in place. We have a president of the United States that has said openly that he's going to eliminate the fossil fuel business. One of the things that I know a lot about, and one of the things that I will do should I be elected, is speak to those purveyors of hysteria that just get out there and talk off the top of their head and don't know what they're talking about. I happen to think the industries in this area do a pretty good job, and they don't get enough credit for the effort that they put out every day when it comes to environmental issues. I spent 38 years working in that business, and I know how much money they spend and how seriously they take matters of the environment.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. We'll now proceed to District 9 with Ms. Felicia Frank. Flooding is a recurring issue in the parish. How will you address flood mitigation and drainage infrastructure to protect homes and businesses?
One of the most important things that we have to think about, and I know District 9 is one of the fastest growing districts. When we say that, we see a lot of the infrastructure monies poured into the new developments, but some of the foundational developments like the village, the terrace was, until redistricting, a part of District 9, and we see the neglect that was done in reference to the weatherization of those homes and also the drainage issues. We've had multiple years where we could have addressed those, but we're still looking for ways to aggressive drainage plans. The police jury is a legislative body as well as administrative body, and if we're not bringing legislation to that body to legislate on and come with infrastructure plans and developments and getting with people engineers who know that, then we're not doing our job. So one of the most important things is cultivating those relationships, connecting resources with the engineers that can do that job, and that's what I would plan on doing.
Thank you, Mrs. Frank. We'll now go to Mr. Anthony Barty with the same question.
Could you repeat that question?
Absolutely. Flooding is a recurring issue in the parish. How will you address flood mitigation and drainage infrastructure to protect homes and businesses?
Okay, thank you. Just like you say, it is a recurring problem, and we're never probably going to fix it. But we have the things in place as far as if we enforce the ordinances, city and parish, that are in place as far as when new construction takes place, there should be a mitigation study that's done on that new construction that shows what effect it has on the current residents and what effect it will have from that date forward. Those studies supposed to be done. Hopefully I do know that as far as the parish is concerned, we do have runoff plans that have to be met, and those guidelines have to be done. So the things are in place. Also, we have to understand the effect Cameron Parish has on our flooding. So we have to deal with the people in Cameron Parish because our water tends to flow downhill. So Cameron has a definite effect on our flooding situation here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barty. We'll now go back to District 8 with Mr. Scott Washington. The panel will get the same question. How will you promote transparency and accountability in the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, ensuring that decisions and actions are made in the best interest of the communities?
Well, government ought to be open to the people all of the time, and there shouldn't be any backroom, smoke-filled rooms that have to be in place anymore. My observation as a citizen here in Calcasieu Parish since 1977 is that we've been pretty fortunate to have good government. We haven't had the scoundrels. This young guys are gone, and for the most part, we've had very good government at the federal level, at the local level, and we don't have a bunch of scoundrels. And the best way to keep people happy in a community is just put it out there and tell them what the hard, cold truth is, and then deal with it.
Thank you. We'll move to Mr. Anthony Barty with the same question. How will you promote transparency and accountability in the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, ensuring that decisions and actions are made in the best interest of the communities?
Well, there's not a whole lot to be done at this point as far as transparency is concerned, because all of our public meetings are broadcast, so every person has the opportunity to sit there and watch, and if they don't watch it live, they can go back and just go to our website and see exactly what we do and how we and what decisions are being made. As far as accuracy, the one thing a lot of people think about when it comes to accuracy of records has to deal with the accounting. Our accounting department is second to none. The audits that are actually done every year on the accounting is first rate, and it's always above board, and it's always completely accurate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Felicia Frank.
Yes. Okay, there's the delay. Sorry. One of the things that, there's two things, is that it concerns me about the 8-minute meetings, the 10-minute meetings, the less than, when you have a full agenda, and the meetings are very short, which leads me to assume, or make an assumption, that there is some discussion that the people aren't privy to. So when it comes to transparency and integrity, we should make sure that we're discussing and having votes in front of the people so that they can be a part of it, to make sure that we are being transparent. Another thing that I want to implement is District 1 through 15 should have an accounting of what monies is spent in each district to make sure that there is equitable spending, that the spending is equal among those districts. That's something that I see a lack of, and that's something that I plan to legislate, get pushed, and put that rule in effect so that the people will know where the funds are being spent.
Ms. Frank, we'll now move to Mr. Mac Delafos.
So, I've served on numerous boards, and I can tell you transparency and accountability was not always existent. We have to make sure that we elect individuals that follow the code of ethics. And when we talk about transparency, I looked at the budget for the police jury, 478 pages long. There is no way that an average citizen can understand exactly where things are. So I would want to make sure that we have meetings, specifically where we go out into the community. And I want the citizens to be able to hold me accountable, and also want them to be able to hold our board accountable. Because if you get the citizens on your side, things will happen. And I can tell you I've always been very transparent and very open as an elected official, and I plan to continue to be transparent and accountable. And so the citizens is who's going to be in charge of that. And I agree with Mr. Barty, the meetings are publicized and are available for the citizens to hold us accountable.
Ms. Chantel Carter-Willis.
It is absolutely important for any government official to be transparent and accountable. I think that's some of the things that we're lacking. As Mr. Mack said, I would like to see that we have something that the citizens can quickly review to know where money is spent, what is going on within, what decisions that are being made, and that's part of holding your elected representative accountable to the decisions that they're making. The decision is for the community. So I would love to have town council meetings, make sure there's multiple ways to communicate to the district, and that they can communicate back to me that I'm making the appropriate decisions that represent the district. And then, of course, making sure that we continue to publicize all of the meetings, but everything should be publicized for all of the community to be able to see.
Mr. Emile Levon Fontenot.
All right, I only have a minute, right? Okay.
As soon as you speak,
so,
it starts.
So many topics to talk about when you talk about the transparency, but at the end of the day, I like to always go back to the foundation, because the foundation is the reason why we have a lot of the issues that we have today. And honestly, as constituents and as citizens, we don't have faith in the leaders that we've elected. Let's just be real, because if we have faith, we'll be there to support. We'll be showing up. We'll be less to accuse of not doing and more educated on what must be done. But I understand it, because you haven't been given that opportunity to show it. And so day one, the biggest goal is to develop faith, develop some courage in order to bridge that gap, because it seems like nothing gets done when we elect the leader we think is right. And so why am I gonna keep going battle fights that we ain't winning or they're not fighting for? And so unfortunately, it's gonna take a little leadership from the person elected to get that ball rolling, so that the courage of the people can start growing a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fontenot. Mr. Mike Smith.
When the actual budget is adopted, public meetings are held. They are advertised for the public to attend. They are shown on television. They are put in the paper. That's legal. They have to be like that. But most times we don't really go to those meetings, because I have found over my time, if it don't affect my front door, I really don't show up. But I do encourage my constituents to come out to these meetings. I do publicize it and make sure they do come or want to come. But like I said, we cannot force everybody to be there. So one thing about being transparent, you want to also include everybody in the decision. When that budget is adopted, people can come to me and ask for certain things for a certain district, or request certain things, and I will make sure that those things get done. But we have to get involved. It's not just me, it's everybody. Because like I said, I cannot be as strong as my other people in my district. So that's what I'm saying. We have to get more involved in the actual government process in order for this to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll now go back to Mr. Mac Delafosse. What initiatives will you champion to support and promote local businesses and small enterprises throughout the parish?
Can you repeat that, please?
What initiatives will you champion to support and promote local businesses and small enterprises throughout the parish?
What initiatives? So, to champion small businesses, we have to make sure that we provide a lot of opportunities for both the city government and parish government. We can go in and have a lot of business classes, so they're educated on how a business should be run. Most businesses fail because they don't understand all the intricacies surrounding how business should operate. We have a lot of home-based businesses. We need to make sure that we encourage them to come out and actually open up a storefront. So from the parish perspective, I think a lot of it is educational, a lot of it is funding, and a lot of it has to do with giving them a mentor so they can have someone to identify with, so they will understand how business works. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delafosse. We'll give the same question to Mr. Scott Washington. What initiatives will you champion to support and promote local businesses and small enterprises throughout the parish?
Doing away with stupid regulations. I will be a firewall against stupid. Now, regulations are necessary, but occasionally somebody needs to say no to the onerous, excessive regulation that all of the government, the federal government, the state government, the parish government, the city government, want their finger in every business. And the best thing you could do would be just leave those folks alone and let them go do their job. So if I champion anything, it's going to be to champion time.
Thank you,
Some
Mr.
bureaucrat
Washington.
pops
This
up.
next question will be for District 9 and for District 2. How do you plan, and I'll read the question since it's both districts and then I'll call on the individual. How do you plan to support and improve education and youth programs in the parish to ensure a brighter future for young residents? We'll start with Mr. Anthony Barty.
Well, you know, the one thing about education is it's an ongoing thing. I know the parish makes great investments in education throughout the parish. One of those investments is we putting in $1.5 million into the Port Wonder facility that's being built on the lakefront, which is going to provide a great venue for our youth to learn a lot there, to experience a whole lot. So that's one area that we can say that the parish is getting involved in as far as, you know, using resources. But also we have our human services department that does quite a bit and offer various resources throughout the parish. But on a different note, I think what we can do, and initiatives that I would like to see us do more of, is to make sure we can promote minority businesses to take advantage of some of the contracts that we let out.
Thank you, Mr. Barty. Ms. Felicia Frank, same question.
Can you repeat?
Absolutely. How do you plan to support and improve education and youth programs in the parish to ensure a brighter future for young residents?
Yes, one of the line items or budget items in the police jury budget is youth programs. So collaborating, creating real relationships, and collaborating on projects. The new African American Chamber of Commerce that's going to be in North Lake Charles, I think is a great opportunity for the police jury to champion programs for our youth, to give them entrepreneurship spirit. And I would love to champion a program with the police jury to do that in reference to education. After school programs, investing in our band, multiple programs with our schools. I think there is multiple ways that the police jury can get involved in our schools, especially supporting Calcasieu Parish School Board in reference to the funding that comes in. But I think entrepreneurship, we should have more trade support, reaching out to the oil and gas industry to have them invest in our infrastructure. That's a part of the police jury when it comes to networking and creating projects for our youth.
Thank you, Ms. Frank. We'll now go to Mrs. Chantel Carter Willis with the same question.
Partner with other government officials like the school board, the city council, to make sure that we have resources across the city, not just in our district. I think education is important for everyone, but also having those relationships with our libraries within the district so that we can have resources. Libraries are a great place to have resources for our kids and for the families. There's a lot of things that you can do there. So I would love to partner with all of those resources and other businesses within the district that can bring other resources and make sure that our education is where it needs to be.
Thank you. We'll now move to Mr. Emile Laban Fontenot.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. How do you plan to support and improve education and youth programs in the parish to ensure a brighter future for young residents?
I've always said this from the beginning. One of the biggest issues that we have when you're talking about government is that all of these entities operate a little bit too separate for me. The reason why these government entities were created was to break things down, but still have it work in conjunction with each other. And even when you look at the comprehensive report from the Human Services Department, which is an amazing department, they had one little thing. They didn't do enough youth activities. That was the only thing that they found. It wasn't by much, but it's enough. And so we have to do more with bridging that gap, like it was said before, between the officials, but we also have to start reaching the kids. We do everything at the schools and construction. When have we ever asked the kids, what's going to make this environment a little bit better for you to learn? Unfortunately, times have changed. We didn't get that opportunity back in the day because they didn't care. They had a belt that was going to make us accept whatever they had. But today, times are a little bit more sensitive. And we have to bring those kids into a lot of those decision making so that they can understand it when it's time for them to grow up and make those same decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Fontenot. Mr. Mike Smith will end this question.
Okay. I'm also part of the actual Human Services Board. We also give money to other agencies like Girl Girls and also Teen Connection through the city. Those items are given to other nonprofits to actually do the work. So we have to allocate the actual funds to make sure, and we also hold them accountable also too, because any type of money that is spent from the parish to these organizations to do the work has to be accounted for. Myself personally, what I do, I partner with Compre Fundale. I'm like an actual patrol. I go there and talk to the students. I mentor schools like elementary, like Ralph Wilson. They actually had Man Up Mondays. I participate in that. So I do a lot. We do teen summits to make sure that the teens do learn a lot from other individuals within the community. So those are the things that I do work on, because I know, actually, I can say, the youth are definitely an important asset to us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and thank you to each one of you who have answered the questions that we have given you on this afternoon or this evening. We'll now go into our closing statements, and we're going to start with Mr. Scott Washington, and you'll have a 2-minute statement to close.
Most of my friends have asked me, Scott, why are you doing this? You don't need to do this. But I feel like that if people like me that have been in business and that have dealt with people, both on the bureaucratic side and on the customer side, don't start stepping up and becoming involved in local government, then all this craziness that's going on around the rest of the country, where you have lawlessness and zero consequences, we're going to look up here and it's going to be in this community in the blink of an eye. And as a civil society, we cannot tolerate lawlessness. My general feeling is that the broadness of my background will allow me to serve the community well. And I hear a lot of people, and most of the people here represent Lake Charles. This is Calcasieu Parish. If I get elected, I'm going to represent everybody in Calcasieu Parish. The people in Carlos, DeQuincy, Iowa. I mean, there's a whole parish to be considered here, and both of the ladies that I'm running against are very Lake Charles proud. Honestly, I don't understand why there is a big divide between when you cross the Calcasieu River Bridge. There's basically a whole other world over there in Sulphur and Westlake. And the two don't seem to want to have much to do with one another. I will represent everybody in the parish in whatever capacity I can do that. And that might mean a phone call to help them with a bureaucratic problem, and it might mean going to Baton Rouge. It's like this bridge they fixed.
Thank you, Mr. Scott Washington. We'll have Mr. Anthony Barty next.
Again, I was elected 4 years ago to represent the people of District 9. I think I stood right in this very church 4 years ago and asked, if you put me in there, I think I'll make you proud, and I hope I've done that. What I will say is we are still in recovery mode. We've accomplished a lot, but we still have a lot to do. And I ask that you allow me to continue the work that we've started 4 years ago. There are some things on the horizon for this area that are going to be extremely important to us. We saw the effects of the LNG industry and how that has worked for our area. Well, the next huge industry that's definitely looking at us right now is carbon capture and storage. That's a huge, huge project. And we're going to have to, as a parish, decide how we're going to welcome it, how much we're going to allow in our parish, and what effects, if any, that's going to have on our environment. So there's some very important issues that's going to take place from moving forward. And I like to be that police juror that's working with those industries to make those industries thrive, but also continue to thrive, our area to thrive. Wind energy is another factor that's getting ready to invade this area. You know, we've already heard about the offshore leases that they're getting out. So that's real close. That's right there offshore out of Cameron. That's going to affect us. And we're going to have to take a serious look and be prepared for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barty. We'll go to Ms. Felicia Frank.
Yes, thank you again to the administrators of this forum, the Deltas, and thank you to Mount Calvary. I wanted to mention Project Cypress, which is the carbon capture that's coming to Calcasieu Parish, has had several meetings, and I want to know if you all knew about them. Calcasieu Parish Police Jury has the information on when those meetings will be, and you as citizens need to be a part of that. $1.2 billion is bringing 5,000 jobs possibly. That's the information you're going to get with me as your police juror representing District 9 for Calcasieu Parish. Communication, community, infrastructure, and enhancement. That's what it is. Connecting resources, collaborating on projects. Those are all things. The police jury is not just an administrative body, it is a legislative body. And for some reason, we all are not legislating with the police jury. I'm explaining to you, this is gonna be, like Mr. Barty said, one of the most important terms. And it is important that we have active, hardworking people in our community that we don't just see at election time, that we see all the time. And I'm asking to be that representative. I'm Felicia Frank. I think it's a clear choice. I think I'm the clear choice. As a matter of fact, I know I'm the clear choice right now in District 9, number 74, Felicia Frank.
Thank you, Mrs. Frank. We'll now move to Mr. Mac Delapos.
Thank you. There is so much untapped potential in District 4. We can no longer be satisfied with just the status quo. It is not effective for an elected official to just simply vote yes or no before issues that come before them. Serving on a board like the police jury requires someone who will be vocal, engaged, aware, and convincing. I am prepared to do these things for the District 4. I've demonstrated that I am not afraid to speak up for my constituents and their needs. Should I be fortunate to receive your vote, I can assure you that I will not vote for a $427 million budget that doesn't include more equitable projects for District 4 neighborhoods. I will not stand by and watch our laterals continue to be neglected, flooding our neighborhoods and displacing our residents like in a terrace, Gilpy Drive. I will not stand by and accept meager investments in our parks like at Mallard over on Opelousas Street. When you have East Prairie Lake Park that's got millions, you have Riverside out in Moss Bluff, you have River Bluff and Westlake. We can't take meager coins. I will not put a massive trailer park next to residents who begged and pleaded for you not to put a trailer park near their homes. I will not minimize the importance of removing the Confederate statue by simply saying, put me down for a yes vote. Where's the advocacy in that? And as I close, I want to leave you with a reminder that District 4 needs dollars, not distractions. I am prepared on day one based on the experience that I have on various boards where I've served as president and led numerous budget meetings to step in day one and be an advocate and bring home funds to District 4. I ask for your support, number 67, Mac Delafos.
Thank you, Mr. Delavoss. Mrs. Chantel Carter Willis.
We continue to see the same thing, but we can't move forward unless you have action. There's been a lot of comments about what has been done, but what I see is the same. What we need is a voice that's going to stay in the position, a voice that's going to move forward, a voice that's going to have action, a voice that you will be able to see some change. We want to continue to grow our district, our city, and the whole city, not part of the city. That's what we need. We want to be able to move forward. We want to be proud of where we are and continue to make change. But we got to see something. We got to have some action. That's what I'm prepared to do. That's what I've done in my experience in the past, and that's what I can do for this community. That's what I want to do. Be your voice. I can do that. I'm Chantel Carter Willis, number 62 on the ballot.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. We'll now go to Mr. Emile Levon Fontenot.
Again, I am Emile Levon Fontenot. I am number 63 on the ballot. And let me just give you my plan. My plan is to actually focus on where the things we're currently missing. And what we're currently missing is we're missing a foundation, because the parish is the foundation. You cannot build a city without a parish, or in other states, you cannot build a city without a county. So we are the bottom line. We are the basis, the concrete of a house, right? If we don't invest in that and get those things right, then it truly doesn't matter what we add to it, because eventually it'll crumble because it doesn't have the solid foundation, okay? We need to invest in a whole lot of relationships, and we talked about this last night at the other debate. Relationships are so important, and on that 15-man jury, you have no choice but to have relationships, because with relationships, people will understand what you're bringing to the table, but you also have to have knowledge behind that, because they're going to question everything that you propose. And so you have to be willing to answer every concern that they may bring in order for them to support whatever cause you have to not only just make the city inside of the district good, but to make the whole district too good. Make it great, make it so positive and so good that we can actually build on it. Because right now, we don't have what it takes to build on it. It's not attractive to businesses. It's not attractive to investors. Back in the day, you know, we always compare, and I got a couple seconds. Back in the day, people built their own homes with their friends and their neighbors. Today, we don't have that luxury because we don't know how to use our hands. So we're forced to allow somebody to build our homes, which means it costs more money. But minimum wage is still only $7.25 an hour. So you tell me if any of that adds up to us having a better community. Number 63, Emile Fontenot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fontenot. We'll close with Mr. Mike Smith.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Really enjoyed it. He did speak about the minimum wage, but one thing about the actual parish, we increased our salaries for the actual parish 25%, because we want to attract and keep our people. And that's one thing we have to look at. My goal is really basically to work at what I'm doing now. We got $27 million coming in for our actual area. Tomorrow night is the meeting, please come out. We want to make sure that that money is spent. People know about it, so people cannot hide it. So we are really transparent toward this money. We got another $10 million coming in for the opioid settlement. We want to make sure that money stays and goes to the areas that it needs. Follow the money, make sure it goes to the area, and that's what I do. I ask a lot of questions. They get tired of asking questions. So I'm going to be the one to actually ask the questions to make sure that my district gets what they need. I come out every morning, I make sure that my constituents know what is going on in District 2 and the parish-wide, to make sure that they are aware of grants, nonprofit opportunities, anything. That's one thing you can say about me. I'm transparent. I want to make sure that everybody has a chance in order to grow. Businesses can come to our area. They are centers. Sometimes they don't know about it. I am a very stickler on making sure we do have minority representation, participation with all kind of bids. I talked to a lot of people, make sure they do come out and bid for these jobs, but they also have to have everything from the actual insurance, workers' comp, but I make sure they have that. Now, they choose to bid or not, but I make sure that they know what they have to have. So, I'm Mike Smith, number 64 on the ballot. I want to continue this journey because I only been in office one term. And I want to keep doing because the money is here now. Before we didn't have it. Now we have it, and I want to continue to make sure that it's spent properly and we can grow as a whole parish, District 2. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you to each of the candidates who have participated in this evening's forum. I'll now hand over the mic to our social action chair. And prior to her ending, we are going to take a 5-minute break and then roll into our state representatives. Thank you as well to each of our audience members for participating and being part of our journey tonight as well. This is Dr. Giselle McKinney-Hawkins, and again, my name is Mrs. Nakia Collins Bushnell. Thank you all so much.
I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the candidates for coming out. And most importantly, I wanted to thank Pastor Garner and the Mount Calvary Baptist Church Social Commission for allowing us to join together and do this. Next up is District 34, and we're going to get ready for them. So we thank you all for coming.